All right, the PDL Season 4 playoffs happened, and your Halifax Masquerade men missed the playoffs. So that's it. That's the video. Bye. Nope, just kidding. Well, we missed the playoffs. Eight other coaches worked hard over the season, more like 10 coaches because some teams had two, and earned their spots. And I thought it would be fun to watch the playoffs here in a video. I don't tend to make the time to watch other coaches in this league very often, and it's good to appreciate their efforts and get some entertainment, I think. So I have their teams here, and I have all the replays. I already know who won the championship because I'm in the Discord, but I have not watched a single game of the playoffs yet. I saved all of them for now. They'll all be fresh to me, and who knows what surprises will come up along the way. First, let's go through the teams. Some of them will be familiar if you've watched week by week, but right off the bat, the top seed, the Rumney Regiroks, is a team that we didn't play before. They have Iron Hands, go figure, top Pokemon in VGC, even in this format. Braviary, Florges, Ursaring, Cryogonal, Komala, Slowpoke, Hatterene, Bronzong, Arctibax, and Fortress. So, I haven't watched any of the replays. It's actually not immediately obvious how this team plays to me, apart from the obvious Trick Room mode. They have Bronzong, Hatterene, Iron Hands. Komala is probably okay in Trick Room. You could do stuff with Guts, Ursaring. Slowpoke can be a Trick Room setter. There's a lot there. For faster stuff, I mean, there's Quick Feet, Ursaring. I assume Braviary gets Tailwind. But yeah, I'm kind of curious about how this team plays. We'll find out when we watch the replays. At the 2 seed, we have the Mr. Steel Your Ho-Oh is. We've seen this team already. It's just well-rounded, well-balanced with a lot of threats. 3 seed is the Drippy Dreepy, another team we did not play. Built around, I think, around Chiyu and Regidrago. Absolutely terrifying special attacking combination to go up against. Drifblim can set Tailwind and has ways to make itself fast and has interesting support options. You also have Cyclizar for Shed Tail stuff, I assume. Sawsbuck is interesting to me because, of course, Sawsbuck gets Chlorophyll, so it could be strong in Sun, as can Chiyu. I don't know what sets Sun on this team, maybe Drifblim. And then they've rounded it out with some solid Pokemon like Gyarados, Bruxish. I'm sure Hypno can do something interesting. Wigglytuff is an okay fairy type. It's a cool team. 4 seed, we have the Salt Lake Sacred Swords, Landorus Incarnate, Tinkaton, Morgrem, Whiscash, Passimian, Fletchling, Bronzor, Pelipper, Bisharp, Golduck, and Grumpig. This is a really cool team because there are a lot of Pokemon that I think can easily fly under the radar here. And I don't even really know what some of these do in this format. I mean, there's obvious rain stuff. They got Pelipper. Golduck gets Swift Swim, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it does. Grumpig gets Simple Beam, so they can... If they have something they can boost, they can do Dragon Dance Whiscash. They can double those boosts. Bronzor gives them Trick Room or Trick Room in Prison. Fletchling is probably just a Tailwind bot, pretty much, because it does get Gale Wings. They had a strat. I did actually watch them play in week 1, and it was like own tempo Tinkaton with Swagger on something, probably Morgrem, and it just swept their opponent. So there's a lot of cool stuff that they can do with this team. At 5 seed, we have the Area Zero Valiant. We played this team. It is just sneakily well-balanced and hard to deal with threats like Hisuian Arcanine, Cantonian Zapdos, and Gengar, and Toxtricity. The Oakland Oshawotts are at number 6 with Incarnate Enamorus, Hariyama, Greninja, Chestnut, Jolteon, Growlithe, Oshawott, Brute Bonnet, Oranguru, Bellibolt, and Galarian Meowth. More Trick Room stuff available to this team. Oranguru is a strong Trick Room setter. They've got like Brute Bonnet, Bellibolt, maybe to take advantage, maybe Chestnut or Hariyama in some matchups. But then they also have fast threats in Greninja, Enamorus. Jolteon is very fast. Growlithe is sort of an interesting low stats, probably kind of slept on support Pokemon. But I wouldn't say I have this team entirely figured out at first glance. The West Palm Beach Wattrolls, a team we actually beat, but we didn't slow them down very much, I guess, because they get in at number 7 with their core of Breloom, Hisuian Typhlosion, Sylveon, and various strong threats around that. Alolan Persian for support, Galarian Slowking for slow support, possible Trick Room stuff, and then other strong Pokemon like Breloom rounding it out. And at the 8th seed, we have the Zurich Zeraora as, I believe, the last regular season opponent we had that actually showed up to play. So they have their Trick Room team with Cresselia, Glastrier, Armarouge. They got Hisui and Gudra for a bulky approach along with Cresselia. They can go fast with Hawlucha. We covered all of this when we played them, and of course Snover is a threat to freeze your Pokemon and sweep your team, if you saw that video. As I go through it, there's a lot of strong Trick Room stuff in this playoff field, which is an interesting thing to think about for future drafts, I think. Notably, some evolutionary families made out very well here. Shellos and Gastrodon both made the playoffs, so did Bronzor and Bronzong. Grimmsnarl is not here, but both of its pre-evolved forms are. Good time to be an Eel, too, with Electric and Electros both in here. But anyway, enough wasting time. Let's get to the replays. And I'll start with quarterfinals 1 versus 8, the Rumney Regirox versus Zurich Zeraoras. I've set up all these replays so that we're watching them from the higher seeds side, so it's kind of like that's the home team. So we can see here that the Rumney Regirox have brought Iron Hands, Bronzong, Ursaring, Hatterene, Slowpoke, and Braviary, so they're definitely trying to do Trick Room stuff, I would imagine. And they're up against Cresselia, Armarouge, Glastrier, Hawlucha, Hisuian Gudra, and Snover. It's going to be very interesting to see which team can grab an advantage in this matchup. This is kind of not immediately obvious to me. I mean, Bronzong and Iron Hands, I think, can put in work into some of what Ninja brought, but Armarouge is a threat the other way. For sure. Ursaring is kind of a wild card, depending on what set it's brought. But let's just get into game 1. Oh, this is how replay. I guess this is how Showdown replays work now. I don't know when they updated this. I guess I haven't watched replays in a bit, but I'll have to remember to click that every time. Anyway, so we got Slowpoke, Hatterene, and on the other side, Snover and Gudra. So I don't really know how to do. I haven't really tried to do this kind of commentary on other people's games before. I don't really know how to think about what their game plans should be when I don't know what they've brought. Obviously, the Regirox are in a strong position to go for the Trick Room, unless they get frozen by Blizzard, which you never know, but they don't have an obvious threat right now into the Gudra, so maybe that will try to set up. But well, let's see what happens. Switch out to Iron Hands. Gudra throws off a Blizzard, makes sense. And Chilling Water from the Snover. Chilling Water into the Hatterene slot. I guess anticipating the switch to Iron Hands makes sense. It threatens Gudra. Am I still recording? I am. And what's the Cresselia going to do? They get the Trick Room off. Ninja covered for the Iron Hand switch very well. Slowpoke throws off a Yawn into Cresselia. Snover's going for that freeze, and it gets it on Iron Hands. We don't know what the Iron Hands tried to do. They go to Ursaring, so now we'll find out what the Ursaring does. And Ninja's last Pokemon in this game is Armarouge. Lol, sorry. What were you trying to do, if not that? Well, that's the game. Okay. So they brought Ursaring with the Trick Room stuff, so I don't think it's a secret quick feat set or something. It's probably a Guts attacker. It's probably slower than the Armarouge, but not the Snover, right? Yeah. The Armarouge, I don't know how the Regirox deal with Armarouge, but maybe Ursaring will show us something cool here. Slowpoke goes for Yawn into Snover, maybe anticipating a switch. Blizzard doesn't freeze anything. Ursaring gets its burn. Okay, I'm getting my turns mixed up. I didn't realize that Ursaring had just switched in this turn. That's okay. Slowpoke can keep the Ursaring healthy, but it can't negate the chilling water, and Ursaring does just go for Facade into Armarouge, so Ursaring is going to be the Armarouge answer. Yawn into Armarouge is also a pretty good temporary answer, as Facade does big damage, but Armor Cannon does bigger damage. Ursaring goes down, and I don't know how... Maybe Hatterene has a cool Terra type or something, but I don't know how the Regirox can stay in this one. They do get the Trick Room back up. They go back to Iron Hands and heal it up, but, I mean, who knows when the freeze will wear off. The Flash Cannon into Iron Hands is not going to do very much, so good switch in that regard. It's Fairy type Hisuian, sorry, Terra Fairy Hisuian Goodra. Makes sense when the Zeraoras were clearly preparing for the Iron Hands matchup. Obviously, it's the biggest threat on the opposing team. And Goodra has shown Flash Cannon and Blizzard, so maybe it's not going to try to go for some kind of setup here. I kind of just assumed that was what it was likely to do, especially paired with Cresselia, but hey, still has 2 move slots left unrevealed. I don't know what the Slowpoke is yawning yet, but that yawn from that Slowpoke has been very strong in this game, and if Munch is going to bring it back somehow, that's probably part of the key. Iron Hand stays frozen as Goodra gets off a big Terra Blast. I like the new moon animation, by the way. I did see that when I was laddering the other day. But Slowpoke is just so good in this game so far, keeping the Iron Hands healthy. The Terra Blast isn't doing enough, although with Psychic it does a lot, but the Cresselia is asleep now. Last turn of Trick Room, big opportunity for a Heal Pulse, and there it is. Still frozen. Blizzard connects, doesn't freeze Slowpoke. The Trick Room is gone, but they're going to get it back up, right? The Iron Hands just stays frozen, but the Snover stays asleep. Okay, we got Trick Room, Heal Pulse. I mean, that's the loop here. Chilling Water is another wild card now that the Snover is woken up. And it's really hard to see how the Regirox... I mean, it would help if the Iron Hands could do anything, but it's really hard to see... The Regirox are keeping steady very well, but it's really hard to see how they actually find a win here. The Hatterene gets off a big attack into the Cresselia, but goes down to Flash Cannon. As the Zeraoras are again just letting their Pokemon fall asleep in exchange for big damage, putting the Regirox further behind. It's Terra Dark Iron Hands, which obviously blocks the Cresselia's Psychic, so that is really going to limit the damage that it takes. It stays weak to Goodra's Terra Blast, but it already was weak to that already, and that was doing, what, 40%? If Slowpoke can keep it healthy, and it can defrost somehow, then... And actually, it also then is immune to a Psychic or what have you from the Armarouge. So we might actually have just found how the Regirox can get back into this game. The Terra Dark Iron Hands is a really interesting wild card here. And I actually think, yeah, it's totally still winnable for them, right? If it ever defrosts. Trick Room expires for the 3rd time, but they'll get it up again. As Cresselia wakes Goodra. Funny dialogue there in the chat. And we're just stuck in this loop right now, but I don't know. Maybe the Iron Hands has its own Terra Blast or something to take out the Cresselia, if it ever gets an attack off. Oh, but they target the Slowpoke. Yeah, okay, I didn't really think about that. I don't know how... I mean, the Slowpoke could have Slack off, but it can't heal itself and the Iron Hands in the same turn, and in any case it goes down here. And Iron Hands soloing this seems like a tall order. Especially because it's been frozen for apparently about 9 turns. They get off the Icy Wind. Of course, the Regirox are not getting Trick Room back up. And the Chilling Water, I mean, yeah, this should be over. But good job playing to their outs. The Armarouge will actually defrost the Iron Hands there, but... And it does have Terra Blast. But it is too late for this game. Alright, so the 8 seed Zurich Zeraoras with their 4-4 record, making the playoffs on tiebreakers, are now up 1-0 in the quarterfinals as we go to game 2. This button does still exist? I don't understand what's going on here. Okay. So this time we'll either Slowpoke and Iron Hands against Glastrier and Armarouge. The Slowpoke Iron Hands stuff did look very strong in game 1, just nerfed a little bit, you could say, by the Iron Hands being frozen basically for eternity. I don't know what adjustment the Zeraoras are going for here. I don't know what the Glastrier is going to do, but I mean, it's Draft League. It could have any kind of crazy Terra type or something, like the Terra Dark Iron Hands we already saw. So let's just get into it. Fake out into the Armarouge. Glastrier just goes for Stomping Tantrum. It does pretty big damage, and the Regirox go for the Yawn into Armarouge over immediate Trick Room. Glastrier is slower than Iron Hands, so okay, that's good to know. And they went into the Armarouge, I guess, because it's an obvious threat to Iron Hands when that isn't terastallizing. Zeraoras go Goodra. Iron Hands can heal up pretty nicely against the Glastrier. And with a Heal Pulse from Slowpoke, still not setting the Trick Room, so Iron Hands has the speed advantage over Glastrier. I don't really know, in that case, I don't really know what the Zeraoras were going for with that lead. Did the Glastrier have something for Hatterene? Did they anticipate Hatterene lead? I don't know, but alright, they bring in Cresselia. Get off a big Terra Blast. That's the other thing. They are... That's the thing in the Zeraora's favor right now. They're weakening Slowpoke much more quickly than they did in Game 1. And I don't know if it has... Well, okay, we've seen Yawn, Trick Room, Heal Pulse. I don't think we saw its 4th move, but there's a good chance it doesn't have Slack Off. And in any case, it's kind of... Unless it goes for Trick Room this very turn, it's kind of too late to heal itself. So Slowpoke goes from a huge asset in Game 1 to possibly a real vulnerability for the Regirox right now, and I wonder whether they'll bring... Well, I wonder whether... Well, no. I wonder whether they'll bring Bronzong in Game 3, but I don't know what Bronzong does here that's better than Slowpoke. I mean, it resists Fairy, so that's something, but I don't think Bronzong gets Heal Pulse. Anyway, assuming there even is a Game 3. They do get the Trick Room up, and they go out to Hatterene. Nice ally switch to cover the Terra Blast. Tip Hatterene. Go for the ally switch again, but it fails. Big damage to Cresselia, but nothing. Cresselia's gone. Knocked out. Good play there by the Regirox. But there is a big Terra Blast in Iron Hands, and with Slowpoke not there to heal it, Iron Hands switches out. And the Regirox are in a little bit of an awkward position, I think, just in that they can't do the loop of keeping Iron Hands healthy right now, but they have so much initiative with the Cresselia gone. Armarouge blocks a Shadow Ball, Hatterene goes down very quickly again, but now they have the Slowpoke next to the Iron Hands. Only 1 turn of Trick Room left, but that might be advantageous because Glastrier comes in. Oh, but the Gooey lowers Iron Hands' speed, so okay. Heal Pulse into the Iron Hands, kind of the obvious play there. Let's see how they play the speed control from here. Still faster than the Glastrier, just Drain Punch, heal up, and the Regirox are really in the driver's seat here. Full health Iron Hands, big Thunder Punch into Goodra. Under Trick Room, the Gooey is helpful. Slowpoke is gone, so Iron Hands is kind of on its own, but Iron Hands has 3 turns of Trick Room left and minus, 2 speed? Next to Ursaring, which is also a giant offensive threat. Yeah, Armarouge is gone, and Ursaring finishes Goodra off. So we are, in fact, going to Game 3. I don't know why Ninja brought the Glastrier this game. I don't really know what it was for. I don't know that Snover is the most useful thing either. Although, maybe the Snover has a trick up its sleeve. I don't know what they'll bring. And, yeah, I don't see much point in bringing the Bronzong for the Regirox. I think the Slowpoke has more than proven its worth through 2 games so far. So I don't know that there's much in the way of adjustments that I do with either of these teams, but let's see what these coaches come up with. So it's an Ursaring Slowpoke lead against Glastrier and Armarouge. I don't know what the Glastrier is looking for. Maybe it has, again, maybe it has a Terra type it hasn't shown yet. The Ursaring lead is interesting too. I don't know. Okay, it's Terra Ground Glastrier, which is like marginally better into the Iron Hands, but wait, and Terra Dragon Slowpoke. What is that for here? Why did they go Terra Dragon Slowpoke? It already resists fire. They took away its psychic resistance. It already resists ice, and in fact now they've made it weak to ice. The Stomping Tantrum doesn't matter here. I'm stumped by this one. I really don't know what the Terra Dragon Slowpoke is for. But we continue. Yawn into Glastrier. The Yawn has been so strong through these games, but Slowpoke goes down way more quickly than before, and the Regirox have already used their Terra. And these teams are just trading big damage back and forth with no Slowpoke there to keep anything healthy. Ursaring has 1 turn left to live. Iron Hands is in. Ursaring switches out for Hatterene, and we have Goodra in. The Fake Out takes Rocky Helmet damage, but gets hit by the Gooey. I don't know what is going to happen here. Hawlucha eats the Drain Punch. That's an interesting adjustment from the first 2 games. But they let Armarouge go down against the Hatterene. And whoa. And this is, I guess this is Trick Room in action. The Regirox got just the right setup, bringing in Hatterene and Iron Hands when they did, and they just swept. That was, after all the back and forth of the first 2 games, that was really something at the end. I still don't know what the Terra Dragon Slowpoke was for, though. Maybe one of them will comment or something, or tell me after I upload this. But now we move on to the second quarterfinal match between the Mr. Steel Your Ho-Oh is and the West Palm Beach Wattrels. Okay, so we got Heatran, Mimikyu, Rotom Wash, Slitherwing, Dedenne. What's this? This is not Sliggoo. Shallows. Against Tornadus, Breloom, Alolan Persian, Sylveon, Galarian Slowking, and Hisuian Typhlosion. So, yeah, I don't know their game plans. Let's just go for it. So we have Heatran, Mimikyu leading against... Oh, let's actually see the Frisk. Safety Goggles with Spore, Mental Herb, or Taunt. Okay, so Kodamarin, this is sort of the obvious Wattrels lead mode here, right? You get the Tailwind and Blast stuff with Eruption. But the Mr. Steel Your Ho-Oh have a very strong reaction. A very strong response to that in Flash Fire from the Heatran, and so that they can actually benefit from being hit by an Eruption. And of course, the Mimikyu is protected by its Disguise, although the Wattrels can, and I would imagine I would, double target the Mimikyu here. So it's possible that the Mimikyu doesn't get to do whatever it wants to do. But we'll see what they go for. Heatran just protects. Fling from Tornadus. King's Rock for the flinch, but Mimikyu... Oh, it does survive the Shadow Ball. So the flinch actually was useful there. They switch out into Rotom to eat a Flamethrower. Good. And Typhlosion takes, a lot of damage. Wattrels go Sylveon, and Typhlosion is still just throwing off attacks under the Tailwind, but I'm just going to say Ho-Oh have adjusted to this really well. They got their bulky Pokemon tanking the hits, and they've gotten rid of that giant threat. Sylveon trying to set up with Calm Mind is an interesting play, but Heatran... The combination of Heatran and Rotom is just a lot for any team to try to deal with. The Breloom gets rid of the Rotom there, but Ho-Oh have weathered the Tailwind really well here. Yeah, and saving the Mimikyu for the priorities is good. It comes in clutch there. I missed what the Terrafire Heatran was for. Or the Terrafire Tornadus. It resists fire, obviously, from Heatran. There's this Fairy, but I don't know that that's especially useful here. It would already resist Slitherwing's Bug Stab, first impression. Maybe there was something else. Let's get the eliminated team out of here. Maybe there was something else that the Watch Rolls were trying to prepare for. I don't know. But yeah, strong win there by the Mr. Steel Your Ho-Oh is really showing off their well-rounded, balanced Pokemon. We'll move on to game 2. This time it's Persian and Sylveon leading against Heatran and Rotom. So Ho-Oh are again really well prepared for an eruption lead, but Kodamarin completely changes gears, and the Persian, there are so many things that a Alolan Persian can do. Who on earth knows what is coming? We know that it's Calm Mind Sylveon. Might try to set up. Hard to do in front of Heatran. Maybe it has maybe Sylveon will Terrasilize this time. They go to Slitherwing, which we haven't seen yet. Big Fake Out, big Calm Mind. The Watch Rolls are setting up their threat, and it's Terra Ground Sylveon. No longer weak to Steel. And that huge Terra Blast gets rid of the Heatran. So this is a much stronger start, obviously, for the Watch Rolls. Terra Poison Rotom. So obviously that resists Fairy attacks from the Sylveon. It also resists Grass attacks from the Breloom. So that's a smart thing to bring to this matchup, for sure. And because it has Levitate, it doesn't have to worry about the Sylveon's Terra Blast. The Slitherwing going for Acrobatics. I mean, that didn't do very much. The Persian probably has Fur Coat, which is an easy ability to forget about. I don't know whether they forgot about it. I'm not alleging that they did, but just a really strong position here for the Watch Rolls. Very good adjustment from game 1. Snarl is pretty safe here. I don't know what the Slitherwing is doing to the Sylveon. It doesn't seem to be doing much to the Persian, although it didn't try a stab attack. Mimikyu switches in, loses its disguise immediately, and Hyper Voice does big damage with the Poison Rotom having switched out. And the Watch Rolls got their offense set up this time. The Mr. Steel Your Ho-Oh did a very good job earlier of weathering the storm, but that Thunder Wave too, and now that it's not an electric type. And the speed control and yeah, the Watch Rolls found the right attacker to go with, and they have so much speed control on their team that they're just able to break through, even with the Hyper Voice being resisted. So we've seen balance versus offense. Balance prevailed game 1, offense prevailed game 2. Both looked really solid in its win. Let's see what happens in game 3. What adjustments will they make? It's Persian and Breloom this time against Heatran and Rotom. Makes sense. Strong combination in game 1, and Rotom is, in theory, one of the better answers they have to Sylveon, which at this point, I mean, I don't know what the Heatran's Terra type is, but yeah, at this point, Sylveon has shown itself as one of the biggest threats. So Breloom then is an interesting adjustment. The Persian can throw off a Thunder Wave into Heatran or a Snarl. Well, probably not a Snarl, because I don't know, that doesn't do that much right now, but a Thunder Wave or something. And the Breloom can threaten the Rotom, although we've already seen Terra Poison. So the Breloom is not that big a threat. But it depends on which way they want to commit their Terra. Smart Protect. See what happens. Everybody's scouting each other out. The Thunder Wave into the Heatran does come through. Mimikyu. It's Terra Flying Heatran. Terra Flying. Obviously helpful into Breloom. Well, yeah, Terra Flying Heatran. It also just dodges ground attacks. which is an obvious thing to bring into this matchup because Heatran is their best Pokemon. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. But the Snarl is really strong here. It breaks the disguise and weakens the Heatran at the same time. Is there a Bullet Seed coming out? Close combat into Heatran. Now resisted because it's a flying type. Maybe I shouldn't have questioned the Terra type. That Persian has to be so bulky, right? I don't know. I don't know my Persian calcs. It has Parting Shot as well as Snarl. Gets the Sylveon in. I didn't realize I'd paused. My bad. Sylveon takes a lot of damage, but it survives. Back to Persian. Sylveon doesn't protect. I thought it was going to. Maybe we saw all its moves already. I don't know. Sylveon goes down, but now the Typhlosion is back. And it's in a stronger position than it was in Game 1, just trying to break through from the lead spot, especially with Slitherwing in the back. And of course, the Terra not available. The Mr. Steel Your Ho is here. And that Ghost Resist Berry is a nice touch to deal with the Mimikyu and get it out of there. Still can't spam Eruption, or I mean, maybe you can. I don't know if you have to care about Flash Fire right now. Yeah, you don't. Big damage into the Slitherwing. Although Flamethrower into Slitherwing, well, I guess it is weaker. Probably trying to one-shot it there. But the Heatran has a lot of trouble here as well because it's taking Snarls and... yeah, the offensive adjustment works again. And the Persian is just a nightmare for the Mr. Steel Your Ho-Oh is. They just can't ever seem to get it off the field when they need to. And a Heatran Rotom combination that was so strong in Game 1. Well, that crit doesn't help. But yeah, it's not enough damage back from the Heatran. And they did it. They lost to that duo in Game 1, but they managed to break through it twice. Alright, how long have I been recording? Man. We're halfway through the quarterfinals. It's time for Drippy Dreepy versus the Oakland Oshawotts. We got the Chi-Yu Regidrago core, Gyarados, Bruxish, Hypno, and Drifblim. Gyarados and Bruxish, double water type, one with Intimidate, one blocking priority, into well, I guess there are uses for both of those techs into here. Bruxish gets Trick Room, right? And maybe Imprison? I'm not sure. They might have something like that in mind. I don't know what on earth the Hypno is going to do. It's an interesting composition from the Oshawotts. They got 50% fast threats and 50% stuff that kind of looks like a Trick Room team, but maybe it's just bulky threats. Double water into double grass, but that doesn't mean much. Let's go. Okay. Chi-Yu and Regidrago leading right off the bat into Jolteon and Enamorus. And it feels like the advantage belongs to the Oshawotts here, because these are faster. They can soften up the Regidrago, especially... well, I mean, in a matchup like this, with Enamorus as the opponent's S tier, Regidrago probably has Terra, Poison, or Steel, or Fire, or something. But even so, there's a lot of opportunity. I mean, any one of those takes away its electric resistance. There's a lot of opportunity to weaken it. I guess you also have to respect the Chi-Yu as an offensive threat, though. They could do, like, Protect, Heat Wave, or something. So it's not a safe situation for the Oshawotts, but they kind of have the initiative here, I think. Or maybe Dragon Energy goes off first, and I don't know anything. Scarf, Regidrago, I can only assume. So which means it won't be protecting in situations like this. It also didn't go for a Terra type. And just raw Dragon Energy knocks the Jolteon down to its Focus Sash, does nothing to the Enamorus. So the Dreepy clearly sees some kind of advantage here. I wonder what it is that they're playing toward. I mean, the Jolteon is a giant threat to their water types and also Drifblim. They might be going for like a Gyarados endgame or something if they're trying to just get rid of the Jolteon right away at pretty significant potential cost. Eerie Impulse. Oh yeah, into the Enamorus for contrary strats, of course. And the Dreepy's Pokemon are just gone. Wow. It's Gyarados and Bruxish in the back. So yeah, trying to get rid of the Jolteon makes sense. They also saved the Terra for Terra Electric Gyarados. Okay. Tanks that Thunderbolt nicely, but not the Springtide Storm. The Bruxish is knocked down to its Sash. Psychic Fangs doesn't even KO the Enamorus, and that was a quick game one. All right. Let's just go to game two. Enamorus leads again next to Jolteon. Makes sense. Very strong last game. And this time it's Regidrago and Drifblim. And, okay, the Regidrago, pause a little late, the Regidrago is going for Terra Steel here. So it's not just going to be knocked out instantly by a Springtide Storm. We know that it's the fastest thing here. I don't know what the Drifblim is going to do. It goes for Terra Blast into Enamorus. Big damage, does not KO. Springtide Storm at +2 doesn't KO anything. Citrus Berry Drifblim, what happened? Citrus Berry Drifblim, probably Unburden. And Life Orb Enamorus goes down. Tailwind on the Drifblim, so I talked about how fast the Oshawott team was, but it's actually the Dreepy that have a giant speed advantage here. Hariyama, I suppose, is not built to care about that. It comes in, they switch to Gyarados in the face of Jolteon. Gyarados cannot Terra this time. The Fake Out, trying to stop the Regidrago from doing big damage. The Strength Sap, big Strength Sap into Hariyama. Lets Drifblim survive a Thunderbolt. Jolteon Terastallizes into the Ice type for, I assume, offensive coverage. That's why you would do that. It also notably covers unterastallized Regidrago, but the Regidrago is already terastallized, so it's actually not obvious to me what Terra Ice Jolteon is for here. I don't know why they did that. Maybe they were trying to avoid an Earthquake or something. Not avoid it, but reduce the damage. Because the Ice coverage isn't... The Ice coverage doesn't do anything into the Dreepy's team at this point. But yeah, maybe they were just looking to clutch survive something. Why did they go for Terra Blast into Gyarados? There's nothing that the Dreepy can switch to. Like, the Dreepy could switch, but there's nothing on their team now that Regidrago is terastallized that takes Thunderbolt better than Terra Blast. The Thunderbolt covers everything. Maybe they forgot about the Terra. Honestly, that might be what happened. It happens. Big Psychic from the Chi-Yu. That's cool. And really taking advantage of that last turn of Tailwind. The Oshawotts are down to just Greninja. Regidrago comes back in. Protean boosted Water Shuriken does not KO with only 2 hits. And it's Thunder Wave Gyarados. It misses, but at this point, it's just too little, too late. They get they hit on the second one, and the Greninja is no longer a Dark type. It does get off a Water Shuriken. 5 hits, and it gets the KO on Chi-Yu. The Gyarados doesn't do very much back with Waterfall. Is there... Can the Oshawott save this? Oh no, the full para doesn't help. Need the... Ooh, 2 full paras in a row. I think they could have done it, but 2 full paras in a row, and the Dreepy survive by the skin of their teeth and get to game 3. And this has been the most exciting series so far, so let's just get right into it. Regidrago and Drifblim again, looking for that offensive boom, this time into Chestnut and Greninja. Greninja only used Water Shuriken last game, right? I don't know what it does into this composition. I don't know what the Chestnut does at all. Big Dragon Energy right off the bat. Big damage. Greninja's gone. Chestnut's almost gone. They went for Pledge stuff. Oh man, I haven't used the Pledge moves in ages. Water Pledge and Grass Pledge is the swamp, right? To try to nerf the Scarf Regidrago. But Scarf Regidrago probably Unburden Drifblim, Tailwind. I don't know the speed control calcs, but I find it kind of hard to believe that the Pledge strat was worthwhile here. And the Jolteon is such a threat, and I know it went down relatively easily last game, but I don't I don't feel like Chestnut was the call here. I don't think I like that adjustment. But okay, we've got Enamorus and Gyarados. Terra Ground, Enamorus. Is the Chestnut choiced? Or maybe it just doesn't have another attack. Who on earth knows what the rest of its set is? Enamorus just can't do anything in the face of Gyarados. The Chestnut is still just going for Grass Pledge. Here finally is the Jolteon, but Terra Electric Gyarados can clean that up nicely. Wow. What an exciting back and forth set. There were a couple of plays that I didn't understand, but yeah, the Chestnut is not saving this one by spamming Grass Pledge. I wonder what the deal was with the Chestnut set. I don't get what the Chestnut. I don't get the Chestnut in this game, but what an offensive showcase from both of these teams, and the Drippy Dreepy, by the skin of their teeth, getting through Game 2 and then dominating Game 3. Goodbye, Oakland Oshawotts. You fought well. One quarterfinal match left to get through. Let's just get right into it. Morgrem, Tinkaton, they can use that strat if they want. The Swagger one that I talked about like half an hour ago, probably. Landorus, Pelipper, Bisharp, and Golduck. Opportunities for rain stuff as well. But the Valiant brought both of their potential Storm Drain users into the rain matchup. Makes sense. Zapdos can exploit or at least check the rain. Toxtricity is a threat into water types, but then Landorus is a threat back. Obviously, that's all ignoring Terra, which is a wild card. Landorus also can threaten Arcanine. I don't know what Arcanine is going to do here, actually. I guess it's a good answer to Tinkaton and Morgrem. And they also have Mismagius. Okay, let's go. I'm fired up now. Pelipper and Landorus into Arcanine and Zapdos. Hell if I know what's going to happen. Okay, I didn't have Terra Dark Arcanine on my bingo card. What is that even for? Is it for... Not Bisharp, that doesn't make sense. I mean, okay, it gets rid of the water weakness, but there are other ways to do that. Terra Dark Arcanine. Man, some of the choices these coaches are making, and I'm not saying that they're bad. I didn't do very well this season. Maybe I'm out of the loop on how to play this well. Who knows? But I also didn't miss the Terra Ground Pelipper, but I mean, that's pretty standard. Sandsear Storm. You know, I forgot that I didn't think about it, but Sandsear Storm is boosted by rain. Its accuracy, that is. It's just kind of silly, but it does work that way. Oh, and they also do dodge the ground weakness on Hisui and Arcanine with Terra Dark. But again, Terra Grass does both of those better. I guess they do then have to worry about the flying types. Maybe it's trying to avoid prankster stuff, like not get Thunder Waved or something by Morgrem. That actually makes sense. It just goes for Rock Slide, misses Landorus, resisted by Pelipper. And they get the Tailwind. Psychic on Landorus. Incarnate Landorus is such a cool Pokemon that doesn't get much play. It's a special attacking Landorus with an awesome move pool. I kind of want to try it sometime, but like it's not meta for a reason. But it's a really cool mon that I'm always kind of excited when I see one getting some use. And that burn is not going to slow it down much. Tinkaton finishes off the Arcanine with a big fake out. Zapdos goes down. And it's Toxtricity and Mismagius in the back. So they did not bring either of their Storm Drain mons. Maybe thinking that their presence in the builder was enough to scare Salt Lake out of any Swift Swim, Water Spam stuff. But yeah, I mean, that was just a sweep from there. Dazzling Gleam on the Tinkaton and Knockoff. Mixed Tinkaton. Interesting. Maybe we'll see more of it. Game 2. 1-0 Sacred Swords. This time is Mismagius and Toxtricity lead, and they're against Morgrem and Tinkaton. Are we going to see the strat? Fake out. Swagger. +2 attack. No confusion because of the own tempo. They did it, folks. Dazzling Gleam from Mismagius targets the Morgrem, but not I was going to say not very effectively. It's super effective in Pokemon terms, but it doesn't do all that much damage. The Morgrem surely has an Eviolite, and it does nothing to the Tinkaton. Then the Toxtricity, we don't know what that went for. The Tinkaton is in a strong position here, especially behind a light screen against 2 special attackers. Big knockoff. Silk Scarf Toxtricity makes sense, but the Nuzzle, paralyzing Tinkaton, smart. Iron Slither. Alright, we got Gastrodon this time. Gastrodon kind of makes sense as a utility check to the Sacred Swords attackers. It's actually really strong into this whole matchup. I don't know why they didn't bring it game 1. But, depending on its set, that is. But they just buff the Tinkaton's attack even more. Not a care in the world. And play rough into this. Was it not Dazzling Gleam on Tinkaton last game? Did I misread that? I think the 4th move is Dazzling Gleam, right? Which means it doesn't have Gigaton Hammer. Gigaton Hammer is not that strong into this matchup anyway. Water, water, electric, electric. But why? What? Yeah. I don't know what the Dazzling Gleam... I guess just for spread damage. Which, okay, sure. Landorus comes in. Giant offensive threat next to an already established giant offensive threat. Terra Dragon gets rid of the fire weakness. Does make it weak to Dazzling Gleam, but the Dazzling Gleam is not doing that much damage. I think. We're about to find out. And there's a light screen. Yeah, that doesn't do much at all. Big Earth Power. The Arcanine survives thanks to Terra. But Flare Blitz takes it out and doesn't take Tinkaton out, but the full para... Tinkaton goes down, but it was just so cool to see it do its thing this game. I'm really glad that they brought that for playoffs. Landorus and Pelipper against the Purple Brigade. Landorus protects itself from the Dazzling Gleam, which doesn't do all that much to Pelipper. Light screen is gone. Pelipper tanks the Boom Burst. Hold on. I guess the Tailwind. Pelipper tanks the Boom Burst. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, the Silk Scarf was knocked off earlier. Huge. And the Sacred Swords close it out. And they take it in 2 games. Which brings us... Why did I... Well, it leaves... 47 minutes in, bit of a marathon. One could question why I decided to watch the whole thing in one video, but it brings us to the semifinals. These are our remaining teams, and judging by the matchups that we're about to get, it looks like the bracket was reseeded, so the highest remaining seed played the lowest. The Rumney Regirox played the Wattrels, and the Dreepy played the Sacred Swords. That is my preferred way to run a bracket, generally, so I'm good with it, but if anyone's confused, that's the situation. So, once again, we're going to start with the 1 seeds matchup, Rumney Regirox versus West Palm Beach Wattrels. Very similar team to last time on the Regirox side, but with Arctibax instead of... What did they bring last time? Hatterene? No, the Hatterene is there. Oh, Bronzong instead of Slowpoke, and Arctibax instead of... I don't remember what they brought last time. I also have no idea what Arctibax does, so I hope we get to see it in action. On the other side, no Tornadus from the Wattrels this time, which I guess makes sense, because they're facing something close to a hard Trick Room team. Instead, they have their own Trick Room, their own Slowmon, Imprison, potential Trick Romancer, and Galarian Slowking. But the Persian is still here to wreak havoc. The Typhlosion is an giant offensive threat. The Breloom is some of both, and I don't know what Brixen does. Let's go. Iron Hands and Hatterene versus Typhlosion and Brixen. Assault Vest Iron Hands makes sense. Covert Cloak Hatterene makes sense. It's probably going to go for Trick Room. The Iron Hands notably cannot protect. And it can't fake out Typhlosion. And we see the Terra here, so we know it can't fake out Brixen. But it's very bulky with the Assault Vest. Let's see. Goes for the Fake Out. Doesn't work. Big Eruption. Knocks out Hatterene. And Imprison. I said that Slowking could have Imprisoned Trick Room. But Brixton probably gets Trick Room, right? Does Brixton have Imprisoned Trick Room? The Terra Ghost, they couldn't fake it out, guaranteed to get the Imprison off turn 1, but they didn't even need it because they just blasted the Hatterene. But the Bronzong probably has a Terra type that deals with fire attacks, so the Imprison could still be useful here. But already a strong position for the Watch Rolls. Terra Water, Big Eruption. Iron Hands almost goes down, but not quite. And it can't Drain Punch either of these guys, and also it takes the Will-O-Wisp from Brixton. Brixton tanks a couple of hits. Iron Hands goes down. This is looking like a Watch Rolls win. Big Eruption into the Ursaring. Paired with Heat Wave, double Fire-type damage. Typhlosion finally now takes damage, and it switches out for Breloom. Another Heat Wave. Trying to pick off the Ursaring, I assume. But the Ursaring protects. The Brixton switches out. It's Eviolite, Ursaring, and Mental Herb Bronzong. Obviously another tech to get the Trick Room off. Something Hatterene doesn't have to worry about with Magic Bounce. Eviolite, Ursaring. Not a Guts. I mean, we already saw that it's not a Guts set, but that's interesting. I wonder what it... We've seen High Horsepower and Protect. I wonder what its deal is. But we're not going to find out now because it drops the Close Combat. And the Bronzong is just trying to attack here because it makes sense. It's the only thing left on its side. It's probably over, but it has to get off damage just to try. I would probably think about Trick Room in this position because you need to get off damage repeatedly into stuff like Typhlosion. But we see here that the Slowking, which is probably almost certainly slower than the Bronzong, so that I could see that affecting that calculation. Bronzong protects, but it's going to get beaten down. Does get the KO on Typhlosion. But yeah, it just doesn't have enough in the tank. Brixton can finish it off. Or, okay. Heat Wave doesn't do much into the Terra Water. Slowking can finish it off here. Alright, game 2. We got Bronzong and Hatterene leading into Typhlosion and Brixton. So the Watch Roll's just going for the same strat again, probably. And 2 Trick Room setters on this side, but that doesn't matter into Imprison. We know that Hatterene doesn't take an Eruption. At least, we don't know what its Terra type is, at least before Terra. And if it does Terra, the Bronzong, I'm sure, doesn't take an Eruption. So this again looks like a strong lead position for the Watch Rolls. Switch it to Ursaring. Typhlosion goes for the Terra Fire. That Eruption is going to hit hard. Almost KOs the Ursaring. There's the Imprison. There's the Terra Water. This is looking a lot like game 1. Munch says, I can't beat this in the chat. Was there an adjustment for them that could fix this? I don't know what the Terra type is on the Iron Hands. So it's hard to say. Also, no idea what Arctobax does. But yeah, the Eruption next to the Heat Wave, even with the Terra Water. The Terra Water keeps Bronzong alive, but doesn't save its teammates. And yeah, just switching in, Iron Hands takes 50%. The Eruption is significantly nerfed now because the Typhlosion is low. See, there's counterplay. Electros comes in, the Iron Hands is burned. The Electros even looks like a problem at this point. Heat Wave next to Thunderbolt can get rid of Bronzong. The Iron Hands is in big trouble here. But the Hatterene finally has a position to set Trick Room. That's something. And the Iron Hands doesn't even get KO'd. I mean, the Iron Hands, it's not doing much from here. That Drain Punch wasn't bad, actually. They don't go for Trick Room, just a raw Shadow Ball. We know that the Watch Rolls didn't bring Slowking this time. So even in a desperate position like this, I feel like you need your Trick Room, because you're going to have to get off multiple hits, and it's easier to pull off if you're going first. I feel like Trick Room was the move there from Hatterene, but maybe I'm talking through a bunch of games here. Maybe I'm underthinking it. Still no Trick Room, but they do get rid of the Breloom. but there's so much on the other side. I can't see. Yeah, the Ursaring is low. Never really understood what its set is for. There's so much on the other side that just can't deal with. The Ursaring goes down, and the Hatterene is right behind. Regirock's forfeit, and wait, was that not O2 Watch Rolls? Why am I seeing a game 3? What is this? Oh, they just posted the replay. They just set up the best of 3, I guess the old-fashioned way, and posted the replay of a game that didn't actually happen. That's a nice bluff, I guess, to avoid spoiling the result for people who are watching later. Maybe I will pick that up sometime. But yeah, the West Palm Beach Watch Rolls with just a dominant performance, and from the 7 seed, they are our first finalist. Goodbye, Rumney Regirocks. You did your best. Hopefully you have no regrets. And that brings us to the Drippy Dreepy and the Salt Lake Sacred Swords in the second semifinal. It's almost the same team as last time for the Dreepy. Cyclozar is in for Hypno, I think. We never saw what the Hypno did. We also never saw what the Arctobax did. RIP Arctobax. But we never saw what the Hypno did in the quarterfinals. And I don't know, the Cyclozar, I mean, Shedtail makes sense into this team. You can block some unpleasant stuff. They're not that fast without Tailwind or Swift Swim stuff, so Cyclozar can get it off pretty safe. Well, not necessarily safely, but reliably. And on this side, we have Morgrem and Tinkaton again. I don't know if they're going to do the thing again, but do we have exactly the same team as before on this side? Did they bring Bisharp last time? I think they did. I guess these coaches know what they like at this point in the season. Chi-Yu and Cyclozar against Landorus and Pelipper. Sandsteer Storm, big threat. Chi-Yu's fire attacks are nerfed, but they'll be prepared for that. Possible Tailwind, Shedtail to get in, maybe Regidrago. Let's see. Or the Cyclozar could do something else. It gets other moves besides Shedtail. There's the taunt to prevent the Tailwind. Case in point. Sandsteer Storm one-shots the Cyclozar, but it did its job of preventing the Tailwind. The Regidrago is in. The Chi-Yu protects, saves itself from the Sandsteer Storm and gets out of there. Tinkaton comes in to try to deal with the Regidrago, no doubt. Terra Fairy Landorus, that Dragon Energy is doing nothing at all. Sandsteer Storm does a lot of damage to Regidrago. And it feels like the Dreepy have not figured out the right mode here. The Regidrago goes down, and I can't see what their Chi-Yu is going to do. And what's more, yeah, the Drifblim got off the Tailwind. So bringing 2 Tailwind setters, right? Yeah, bringing 2 Tailwind setters works out very nicely here for the Sacred Swords. Which is really cool to think about, actually. I very much treated Tailwind like a box to tick on my team. Like, okay, got a Tailwind setter. And later in the season, when I made a bunch of roster moves, it was Drifloon, which is not even a good Tailwind setter. This guy had 2 solid Tailwind setters. No, wait, what am I talking about? The Drifloon is on the other side. Okay, it's late. I've been talking for like an hour. I'm getting tired. Ignore me. Both sides had good Tailwind setters, and they got their Tailwind up. The Pelipper just had to switch around to do it. The Cyclozar gave its life for a couple turns of initiative, during which the Regidrago just went down. Terra Ghost Chi-Yu avoids Fake Out. What else does it do? Well, okay, your basic dodge fighting attacks. Doesn't feel like a super... It's a very standard Terra type on Chi-Yu. It just doesn't seem super tailored to this matchup. Anyway, while I was talking about that, the Landorus went down. The Drifblim has Sunny Day. That's a good tech, especially on this team, which can take advantage pretty nicely of Sun with the GU. GU breaks through confusion and gets off a big flamethrower. And the Pelipper having to switch around and then get off the Tailwind, went down, gave the Dreepy a chance to set up their preferred weather and get off big damage with the Chi-Yu. So there definitely is a viable mode in here. And the Morgrim goes for Swagger. Does the Morgrim have an attack? One hopes. But it's not showing one. Of course it... Oh, sorry. Of course it could win on confusion damage. Screens Swagger. And it hasn't shown its fourth move. But it's just spamming Swagger. It doesn't have an attack. But the Drifblim is plus 4 attack. So the Morgrim can win this. It's anyone's game. Drifblim is plus 6 attack. Very lucky now at this point. Chipping away, getting the special defense drops. Hurts itself, barely survives. This is going down to the wire. The Morgrim's at 1%. And the Drifblim snaps out of confusion and finishes it off. Oh, another nail biter from the Drippy Dreepy. What a playoffs. Never saw Morgrim's fourth move. Game 2. Let's go. Chi-Yu and Cyclizar lead again into Pelipper and Landorus again. What adjustments have they got for us? Sunny Day Cyclizar right off the bat, but the Sandseer Storm hits both targets and knocks them out anyway, and the Pelipper gets off the Tailwind. Just going for the Tailwind in the face of a potential taunt. I guess anticipating an adjustment. Terra Ghost Regidrago. Is this guy just really afraid of Fake Out, or am I forgetting something? I don't know. But does nothing into the face of Earth Power. Terra Blast. Neutral. Resisted. I don't know. Bronzor is weak to it. That's something, I guess. Pelipper switches out for Morgrim. They can get the rain back up, but the Landorus is gone. Okay, more of this. Drifblim, Morgrim, endgame, round 2. I'm down. Misty Terrain, Morgrim. Preventing a potential Will-O-Wisp into the Tinkaton. I love that. The terrain moves are so underappreciated, and they really can come in handy sometimes. I had a good game with manual Psychic Terrain once in my first season in this league. +2 knockoff, huge damage into the Drifblim. They pulled off the strat again. What a set again. Alright. Game 3. Even weather war so far. They did the thing. We got that crazy game 1. I'm ready for anything. Let's go. Gyarados and Chi-Yu against Morgrim and Tinkaton. So these are different leads now. And the Gyarados is strong into pretty much everything here. I mean, the Bisharp can have Defiant, obviously, and probably does. But it's an interesting adjustment. They also go Bruxish, which prevents something like that. They have so much. I'm not saying that the Dazzling and the Terra Ghosts were all for Fake Out specifically, but they brought so much Fake Out counterplay to this set. Dragon Dance Gyarados. That does look very strong into this team. Terra Grass is interesting. It's strong into... It's actually not that strong into Landorus. It resists ground, but at the cost of a ground immunity, and it becomes weak to flying when Terra Flying Landorus is a strong possibility. It could be strong into Golduck. It's iffy into Pelipper because that tends to carry Hurricane. I guess the Terra Blast can cover Whiskash. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not even saying that I don't understand it. I understand it better than some of the others, but it feels like kind of an interesting choice. Big Terra Blast, though, into the Terra Water Tinkaton. Maybe they anticipated something like that, and the Tinkaton is gone. And with Gyarados going for Waterfall, it actually benefits from the rain here. They also have Psychic Fangs to break screens, but there's the Hurricane that I talked about a second ago. Drifblim. Are we going to see dueling Tailwinds? It's Moxie Gyarados. They go for the Tailwind instead of finishing Gyarados off. Gyarados gets a chance to protect while Drifblim sets up Tailwind. I feel like you finished Gyarados off there, but maybe there was some kind of opportunity cost to not getting the Tailwind up right then. I mean, you have the opponent's Tailwind to worry about, but even as it is now, it's staggered in the Dreepy's favor. Well, anyway, there's the sunny day. The Hurricane can miss now, and it does. Big Terra Blast in the Landorus, but the Landorus is... They did Terra. They used Terra Water. The Landorus is weak to Waterfall. I don't know why you Terra... Well, okay. The sun nerfs the Waterfall. It's a wash, I think. And the Terra Grass does make more sense when I think about that, when I remember the context of this being like a semi-sun team. Drifblim, Pelipper, Bruxish, Psychic Fangs crit. Pelipper's gone. And the final of PDL Season 4, VGC Regulation D Draft League. It all comes down to the Drippy Dreepy and the West Palm Beach Wattrolls. Who will it be? Here's the matchup. Chi-Yu and Regidrago are back. They've got their pal Drifblim for Tailwind and other support. Bruxish is potentially going to be a problem for, say, fake-out spammers again, or something like any kind of prankster tricks from this guy. The Gyarados nicely rounds things out. Physical attacker, bulky, intimidate, strong into potentially something like Breloom. Would also be strong into their fire types, but they didn't bring them. I don't know what Hypno does. Tornadus, Sylveon, Magneton, Breloom, Persian, and Electros. Answers to the water types, which are both here. They brought 2 electric types, which is interesting. Magneton, of course, also resists Dragon. Sylveon is immune. Sylveon can potentially get off big damage with the right setup, with Tailwind or Thunder Wave or Icy Wind stuff, or I mean, who knows? Let's just dive into it. I'm getting tired. Ooh. It's midnight. Man. So much for going to bed a little early tonight. Chi-Yu and Regidrago, the devastating duo, face off against Tornadus and Magneton. The Tornadus, it could Icy Wind. It's naturally the fastest thing here, but there could be a Scarf on either one of these. It could like throw off a Bleak Wind Storm or something. That aside, this looks like a strong lead position for the Dreepy. The Magneton, as I said, resists Dragon, but is weak to Fire. That it does anything especially threatening here, necessarily. Let's go. Tailwind. Light Screen. Smart. Okay. Still takes a lot of damage from the Heat Wave, and the Dragon Energy knocks both of them out. Okay. That, I mean... But maybe they were setting up, like... I mean, they had to see that play coming. Maybe they were trying to set up for a strong end game. Terra Fire on the Regidrago makes a lot of sense into a team with Breloom and Sylveon. So it looks like a nice position for the Dreepy. But the Wattrolls, taking advantage of their Tailwind, get off a really cool move in Rock Tomb into the Chi-Yu. And the Regidrago still takes a lot of damage from that Hyper Voice. Life Orb boosted. So yeah, there might be room for the Wattrels to claw it back, but it's going to be harder to do when the Bruxish, when the Regidrago gets the Breloom so low that the Bruxish can pick it off like that. Terrablast. I love Terrablast Sylveon. I love how Pixelate makes it a fairy attack before it Terras. So you have your choice, subject to your Terra calculations, about fairy or fire or ground or whatever. It's such a cool interaction. And just big damage to Bruxish, but the Focus Sash, Bruxish hangs on. Sylveon is tanking the Regidrago's special hit behind the light screen and blasting away with Hyper Voice even into the resistance. The Tailwind is gone. Regidrago can go first, and in combination with the Liquidation from Bruxish, it knocks the Sylveon out. So that was a strong end game from the Wattrels, but it wasn't strong enough. The Dreepy take the 1-0 lead in the final. Game 2. It's Chi-Yu and Regidrago again, this time into Breloom and Persian. So no turn 1 Tailwind. The turn 1 Tailwind was big for speed control, but the Tornadus probably doesn't have a way to survive with these guys' just attack. So now we get to see what the Persian is packing. We know that the Regidrago does not have Terra Ghost this time. The Chi-Yu could. But it switches out for Bruxish, blocks the fake out that way. Terra Rock Breloom. Obviously covers the obvious flying type weakness and buffs its Rock Tomb. Also covers fire. And we've really seen Breloom used as a Chi-Yu answer in this set so far, so that's very cool. Dragon Energy is just annihilating things. Oh man. I don't know what the Electros is going to do to try to come back into this. Okay, it's going to do nothing. The Terra Water Bruxish. And the offense from Chi-Yu and Regidrago is just too much. The Sylveon knocks the Regidrago out and knocks the Bruxish down to its stash, but unless the Sylveon happens to be packing Quick Attack, it just goes down to an Aqua Jet here. And it surely can't one-shot the Gyarados, right? Terra Water Aqua Jet. Sylveon's gone. 2-0. The Drippy Dreepy defeat the West Palm Beach Wattrels in a real offensive show of force. I didn't bluff you with a fake replay. I think they did the thing again. No, they played game 3? Am I confused? This is just game 2 again. Did they post the same replay twice? Hang on, I'm going to check the Discord. No, this is the same text, but they did post the same replay twice. Okay. I don't know if they intentionally bluffed that or not, but they did have me fooled. I told you I hadn't watched any of the playoffs before. Up until this point, I thought that the final had gone to 3 games. But it was just a show of force from the Drippy Dreepy. I mean, there was a solid effort in game 1 to pull it back with a Sylveon after setting up the Tailwind and the light screen. Game 2, they tried to find an adjustment, and there just wasn't one. Well, there might have been, but they didn't find it. This team just, with so many tricks, with so many strong support techs, and you name it. But the core of Chi-Yu and Regidrago was just too much. It always looked like a strong core. And it came through in the end. And we saw there were some exciting sets from the Drippy Dreepy along the way. There was the Weather War in the semifinals. And there was the absolute skin of their teeth win on a full para in a game that could have knocked them out without a single playoff win. If that goes differently, they're eliminated in the quarterfinals and they don't win a game in the playoffs. But they got through it and they crushed opponents with overwhelming offense, with a tried and true core, amazing support pieces. This was quality Draft League content. Never found out what the Hypno does, but this was quality Draft League content through and through. I'm so glad I watched this. And I think there's going to be a break before the next season in this league, and there's going to be a different format when we return, but I am already looking forward to playing in PDL Season 5. And while we wait, hey, Dreepy is a champion. Dreepy gets a championship ring. No Mickey Mouse about it. What more can you ask for? And that's it. That's PDL Season 4.